As the superintendent, I'll be sworn in January. Within the month of January, I'm going to bring together police chiefs and sheriffs from all over South Carolina, and we're going to talk about school safety, because I don't want what happened in Texas to happen to a South Carolina school in South Carolina. So we're going to bring them together, and we're going to find out. We're going to get a plan to keep our students, our teachers, and all the staff in our public schools safe. The long term, I want every student that graduates from our public schools to be ready for the 3 E's: enrollment, enlistment, or employment. We got to have them ready for their next step in life, whether they're going to college, whether they're going to serve our military, or whether they're going to go into the workforce. It's our responsibility to make sure they are ready. Also, our short-term and long-term goal is going to take, we got to do it immediately and we got to keep doing it, is recruiting and retaining teachers. We have to get teachers in our schools in South Carolina. So I've got a plan to retain our teachers once we get them in there, but we've also got to recruit them. All I ever wanted to do was to be a teacher. I mean, from the time I was a little girl, all I wanted to do was to be a teacher. And we've got to make sure that young people are growing up going, I want to be a teacher. And we have to put them on the path to be a teacher in South Carolina. And I want to do that. I want to be a cheerleader for our educators. I want to make sure that our students are prepared, and I want our parents involved in the education of their children.
And what are some of the ideas that you have to retain and recruit teachers? What's the plan that you've thought about? So
as far as recruiting teachers, we almost got it passed in the General Assembly. We ran out of time in the House. It's called the Lottery Scholarship Enhancement. Right now in South Carolina, if students are in our colleges and they're getting the lottery scholarship and they're majoring in math and science, they get a lottery scholarship enhancement. They get more of the lottery money for that. And I want to add education to that list, because we hear young people when they're coming out of school talking about the amount of debt they're coming out of from college. And this will help reduce that debt. But once we get them in there, we have to make sure that they have a mentor who's going to help them be successful. And also, we've got to retain our teachers. They need less paperwork, less testing. We test our kids entirely too much. I saw a kindergarten teacher in Anderson. She said, I have to assess my students 38 times during the year in kindergarten. So we've got to do something about the amount of testing that we're doing, and we have to restore discipline in our classrooms so that teachers can teach and students can learn. No student should keep my son from learning and his teacher from teaching. So that's about 3 things right there. There'll be more when I get out in there that we have to do to retain teachers. But every classroom in South Carolina deserves a qualified, quality teacher. Can you provide a little bit of background how you are suited for this role, or what prepared you for this position? And my master's degree is in early childhood education. I'm a former teacher. I taught in my hometown of Lancaster, South Carolina, for many years, taught 3rd grade, absolutely loved it. So my undergrad is in elementary education. I earned my master's in early childhood education. And then I went to, and both of those are from the University of South Carolina. And then I went to Winthrop University, where I received certification in education administration. I am currently the executive director of Palmetto State Teachers Association. We are the largest professional association for teachers in South Carolina. We are not a part of the union. We are a true professional association for teachers. So my whole life has been advocating for students and for teachers, and in the classroom for their parents. So that is what I've done my whole adult life. All I ever wanted to do was to be a teacher. I would go downstairs in our basement, and my baby dolls and stuffed animals, and even my brother, I made my little brother come down there, and I played teacher. That's all I've wanted to do. So I am a lifetime educator and a lifetime advocate for the schools in South Carolina.
What are some of the changes that might take place in education in the next 4 years that you're particularly excited about in the state?
Well, I hope that we are going to see our General Assembly working harder to help improve education in South Carolina. We've got some great spots, but we have some that need some help. And so I really want to get in there and work with the General Assembly so that we can improve education all over South Carolina, because we know that good public schools equals good economic development. And that's what we've got to do in order to grow businesses in South Carolina, is to make sure our schools are good and that these businesses want to come. And that's what I will be doing as the next state superintendent of education.
What are your thoughts on curriculum changes or improvements? Have you thought about that yet?
Well, we've got to take a look at all of our education standards. We've got to make sure that they are appropriate. We've got to make sure that when we're looking at this, that we have input from educators, administrators, parents. We all need to make sure that we have appropriate curriculum in our schools of South Carolina.
And what are your plans for the next few days through the election? How are you planning to spend that time?
I am traveling all over South Carolina. I am going from the mountains to the sea, and I am traveling all over South Carolina, having the opportunity to meet people and see people that I already know and share my vision of the future for public education in South Carolina.